Welcome back. We are live on Channel 5, also live on My 5. Henry and Lizzie still here with me. And now we're talking about scam phone calls, specifically how you can spot one, and has it ever happened to you? Please do give us a call, 0207 862 2222. We'd love to hear your stories on this, if not for any other reason, but to warn other people. We are now joined by consumer expert Lisa Webb from Which. Lisa, is this on the rise, this sort of thing?
Well, scams and fraud, it's a national issue, it's a global issue, and it's something that we're seeing more and more and more of everywhere. The way in which it happens is changing too. We know with the advent of AI, criminals are using AI to get hold of your money. But yeah, absolutely, this is something that's on the rise, and we're having more and more reports of scams and fraud across the board in all industries.
One that's particularly doing the rounds at the moment, apparently, is something to do with your personal alarms. They're calling you about that. Can you tell us more about how that one's working?
Yeah, this one's pretty insidious and unpleasant, actually, because it's targeting generally older people who might be more vulnerable in any case, particularly those who might have those personal alarms, the ones that you might wear around your neck to call the emergency services if you have a fall. So what we're seeing is people getting phone calls saying either if you have an alarm that you have to upgrade it and you have to pay for that upgrade over the phone, or encouraging you to take an alarm with this company and asking you to pay for that upfront. Last year, we had around 5 reports of this type of scam happening. We had reports to our own Which tool checker, but actually this year, we're only in June and we've already had 5 times that amount
of
goodness. Reports. So it's definitely on the rise.
That is outrageous. So if you have a relative that's maybe older and is wearing one of these, warn them. If anybody calls to say anything about the alarm, put the phone down, ask for a number, call
my mum had one
your
of those,
relative back. Did your mum have the same thing?
My mum had one of those. Sadly, we lost her some months ago, but she was targeted by all kinds of scamsters, criminals and fraudsters, contacting her with unsolicited offers, and they ended up scamming her for thousands of pounds, which we had to go to Barclays and get back, and fantastically we did manage to do so. But because older people want to answer their phone, they are polite. If a stranger turns up at the door, they don't want to send them away. And so they're highly vulnerable, and as they get older, particularly when dementia comes in, highly suggestible, and that's why they need more protection.
Lisa, you're nodding away at that. I mean, obviously it's not just older members of society. Everybody is vulnerable to scams because they are becoming incredibly smart. We just heard about other sorts of scams earlier in Jeremy's show. Is there any way, I'm glad, Henry, your mum got the money back. Is there any way, when you get scammed out of thousands of pounds, for you to reclaim that money from your bank?
I think that's a really important point you make there, Storm, because very often we'll assume that it's older people who are more vulnerable, who are more likely to be scammed. But there's huge amounts of data out there that actually suggests that younger people are being scammed too. It's just different types of scams. And with the use of AI and these incredibly sophisticated scams, it's very, very easy to be duped. And it's worth remembering that if you're scammed, you have been victim of a crime. This is fraud. This is a crime, and anyone can be a victim of crime. And it's really important that you're not embarrassed and you don't hide away if that happens. You need to talk about it because there are ways of getting your money back. So you mentioned here in terms of thousands of pounds being lost. It's not always thousands of pounds. Sometimes it's just a few pounds, but it doesn't matter how much it is. You should absolutely be reporting it. If you've lost your money through what we refer to as APP scam, so APP is an authorized push payment. That's when you basically send money from your bank account to someone else's bank account. And that's called authorized, even though we all know you haven't authorized anything because, frankly, you didn't know what it was you were authorizing. There is something called the contingent reimbursement model. Now, that is a code that most banks are signed up to, but it is voluntary. And at the moment, those banks that are signed up to it will reimburse you if they can see that it wasn't your fault that you were scammed. Now, that sounds a little bit like victim blaming when you say it wasn't your fault you were scammed, because obviously no one would ever think it was their own fault that they were scammed. But the banks will look at whether or not you've done the sort of right due diligence in making sure that the person you were paying was the person you thought you were paying. Now, I think there is more that banks can do to protect their customers, but if they're signed up to the CRM, this contingent reimbursement model, then you should absolutely be trying to get your money back, even if your bank is not signed up to that. voluntary code, I would still recommend contacting your bank to get your money back.
I like that
If
bit
you
of
paid
advice.
with credit card or debit card, for example, there are other ways. So you might have heard that Section 75 used a few times before. That's if you paid with your credit card. Always worth a try that way too.
Okay, that's great. Just be honest about it, talk about it, and tell your banks and see what they can do for you. Very quickly, because I want to get to the calls. We're already getting loads in for scams, which is really sad to hear, actually, because that means lots of people have been scammed.
Can I just say really quickly, my son who just opened his bank account got scammed, and it isn't just for older people. And look for that number you don't recognise, or a private number. It's very important.
Unsolicited, be on a war footing, be ready.
Can I just to run through before we get to the calls, what are the key things you need to spot for a scam? What are the signs that this is a bit dodgy now?
So anything out of the blue, if you're not expecting a call and someone calls you out of the blue, I would absolutely treat that as a red flag. Anyone pressuring you, time pressure is always a red flag. Someone trying to encourage you to think quickly or act quickly, because what they're trying to do is get you on an unsure footing so that you might make bad decisions. But there are lots and lots of things to look out for. It's not just phone calls. Sometimes it's social media, sometimes it's emails. So I think the best thing to do is, as your guests have been saying, be cynical. And it's a sad thing to say, but just assume it's a scam unless you can prove otherwise.
This is devastating. It's only the pure of heart that's going to get caught out in these. Peter from London, you're up first. Have you been caught out in a scam?
Good afternoon, panel. Yes, I have actually, on the phone and on social media. What happened was I had a very bad mental health turn at the beginning of the year, and I didn't have enough money for my electric and stuff. So I had a call from this company. I applied online for a loan, and they called me back and they said pay £25, which stupidly I did. I mean, I do blame myself there. And then they said, we need another 150. So I said, no, you're a scam, and put the phone down. I did pay the 25, so I lost that. Then the next week, another company rang me, and I said, oh, yes, I could do with a loan. But I said I was scammed last week, and they got some money from me. And I said I reported them to action fraud, and then they hung up. So, it really is, particularly when you're going through a bad space like I was. £25 is a lot of money.
Definitely, and the problem with for Peter is once they've got you once, then they pass your number around. Or it may have been the same people under a different name who thought, we got this guy last time, we'll get him again.
Peter, can I ask, did you contact your bank about the £25 to see if you could get it back?
Well, I didn't then. I didn't know what to do because I wasn't in the right frame of mind, really. I was just all over the place. But I also then was scammed on, I won't name the site, but a social media site for £45 for a Christmas tree. And that was coming from China or somewhere. But I mean, I just wanted to call particularly to help other people. It's got to the stage now where I won't answer any numbers I don't know, and I'm missing important appointments, but I'm scared now.
So you've become even more cynical. Peter, thank you very much for your call and warning message there. I suppose the alarm bells would have rung for me when somebody's offering me a loan and asking me for money. Lisa, is that something where you...
I think, and it was really telling there as well. He was saying he felt silly and he blamed himself, and that's absolutely not the way to treat this. These are criminals. They know exactly what they're doing. And as you've just mentioned as well, there's something called a suckers list, which is an awful term. But basically, if you've been caught once, your name gets added to something that's referred to as a suckers list, which means that they can keep trying you. And then that becomes valuable tender for criminals. They pass that list around saying, look, this person's vulnerable and you might be able to get something out of them. So it's absolutely worth having your guard up. But I would definitely say contact the bank. If you paid by bank transfer, do contact the bank because they might be able to help you. Okay,
we'll get loads of calls and I want to get through specific stories, but I also want to warn everyone as much as possible about the types of scams that are out there. So Lisa, can you run through the most common ones, what to look out for, what things should send alarm bells ringing right now?
So if we're talking about those over the phone, impersonation scams are rife, particularly ones people pretending to be from the fraud department of your bank, asking you to transfer money to a safe account. That will not happen. If someone calls you and they claim that they are from your fraud department and they ask you to move money, it is a scam. Put the phone down immediately. If anyone calls you pretending to be from the bank, actually, there is a number that you can call. It's 159. If you dial 159 from your phone, and say which bank you want to be put through to. It should put you straight through to your bank to make sure you're talking to the correct department.
That's such
so
a
don't
good
use the
tip.
phone number from the fraud.
Because it's really annoying to have to then look the number up and try and find the number when you're feeling harassed and anxious already. So 159, then tell them what bank you want to be put through to, and they'll send you through to the right place, and you can then ask them for the fraud department.
Exactly. Not every bank is signed up to it, and not every phone provider is signed up to it, but you will find the majority of people are covered by that, and it will make sure that you get through to the correct bank. There are a few other examples as well. Sometimes you get people pretending to be tech teams saying that you need tech updated. And what they do is they encourage you to share your computer screen with them. So we know that there are these software programs out there that you might use them through work when your IT department wants to try and help you with your laptop. These types of software allow criminals to access your laptop or your desktop or your phone, and then they can access any apps that you might have open. They might be able to access your banking app as well. So do not allow anyone access remotely to any of your devices. If someone's asking you for remote access, put the phone down. It's absolutely not worth it. And then some of the other scams out there, social media scams, are absolutely rife. We know that the Meta platform is particularly bad. There was a select committee hearing earlier this year where one of the bank bosses claimed that it was something like 85% of the frauds that they're seeing through their bank are coming from the Meta platform in the first place. So we know that things like Facebook Marketplace, absolutely rife with scams on there. So absolutely watch out for anyone offering goods for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I would trust everything like that with a huge dose of caution.
If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. It is. Let's get back to the calls though, where we can hear some specific examples. John from Derbyshire, have you got a scam story to tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, I want to say I hear what you're saying, Henry. Hi to Henry. Hi to Storm, obviously. And hi to you, Chrissy. But I hear what Henry was saying because my parents in their late 80s were nearly scammed in the same way. Fortunately, my father phoned me and I managed to put a stop to it. But no, my real story is that I run a business and I just wanted to warn about banking scams. This is probably 6 years ago, I was in Main Street, High Street Bank, and I was paying some invoices. And partway through that, the screen went blank, and all of a sudden I had another page which was exactly the same as the bank I used, no difference at all. And I was unfortunately, or fortunately, going on holiday the day after, so I was thinking more about suntan than thinking what I was probably doing. So they asked me, and don't forget, we all use online banking pretty much now. So they asked me to put in the code which you do to set up a new payee. And I did it, and I lost £20,000 within a heartbeat.
My word. 20.
And did you call the bank? Did you call the bank to say?
I did.
And what happened?
Well, as soon as I'd done it, my alarm bells went, "What have you done?"
We
And
hear the
then
same story.
again, it was one of those you instantly realise, I think Jeremy said this morning, I've just been had. So I looked into the account, there's 20 grand gone, so I phoned the bank immediately, and thank goodness the bank were very, very good about it. They realised I showed them what had happened, and they refunded me the £20,000. But I'll be honest with you, that would have hurt my business quite badly, and I employ 6 or 7 people.
Wow.
20 grand is 20 grand.
Yeah. Thank God the bank, returned the money. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
But just a word of warning then, if you're doing any kind of online banking and the screen goes blank or something funny happens, log out, log back in, and then you should be safe. Is that right, John?
That's 100,000% what I was going to say.
Right.
It's happened since
Even
because,
if there's a funny glitch or anything, just shut it down.
Yeah, any glitch, just pull out of it and go back in. Another serious point that obviously after going through this, I'm amazed why people are not getting that your bank never ever phones you at home. My bank is very, 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 very strict on that. We will never call you at home.
They never call at home? Let me just check that, Lisa. Your bank never calls you at home? I think they've called for some sort of survey at some point. Oh gosh, have I been scammed?
Yeah, you might have been scammed.
My bank tells me all the time, and it's a main, one of the big 5 that I've been with since I was 18, and I'm nearly 60. They always say in all sorts of communications, we will never call you.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
same
didn't
here.
know that.
Yeah.
Lisa?
It might depend on the bank. Some banks will call you. So just because it's your bank calling doesn't mean that it's a scam. Sometimes you might get calls from fraud departments that are legitimate calls. What I would say, though, is your bank will not mind you questioning it.
Yes.
Your bank, if it is definitely your bank calling, will be happy for you to say, hang on a second, I'm not sure if this is you. I'm putting the phone down and I'm going to call you back on the number I know.
Yes.
That's
That's
good.
exactly what I did. When my bank called me, it was uninitiated, and I said, okay, I need to know that you are who you say you are. Give me your full name, give me your email address, give me your number, and I went round the houses, and initially she was slightly put out, but then I said, look, hang on a minute, I don't know you from Adam.
Yes.
I want to make sure my money's safe.
And we've all got that 159 number now. John, thank you for sharing that. Jack from Greater Manchester, what's your story?
While this programme's been on this morning, I was upstairs and I always take the phone with me. And the same things have happened to me over scamming on taking money out of my bank, which I've not fallen for. But this company seemed to do it alternately, possibly every other week. And these other companies doing it is saying they're representing the government and will do repairs on my house, put new loft insulation and stuff like that.
Oh, Jack, and they're calling you every week, really, alternatively?
Yeah, I think they must have how it done. They must get hold of it because you're a pensioner. And
Jack,
they seem to get these details.
Just hold on a minute, because you're not alone in this. Someone that gets perpetual calls.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether, Lisa, because we're going to have to wrap up soon, but just any advice on how to get yourself off this sucker list, or what Jack can do to stop him getting all these calls?
So I would say contact your phone provider, because most phone providers have call blocking technologies. Very often they are free as well. So speak to the phone provider. If you can ever get a number, if you can take a note of the number calling you, that's useful as well, because if you can tell your phone provider who it is, they can block that number calling you. And they can also offer phone blocking technology to help stop calls getting through to you. Sometimes you can have something that screens the calls for you, so they have to leave a message and then you can call them back.
Lisa, I need to wrap up now, but Jack, I really hope that helps, and I hope you can stop getting those horrible calls. Lisa Webb, thank you very much for all your help and advice on that one and information.